Hello everybody, welcome to G4G on YouTube, and I'm Napalm Dawn, giving you guys a video that I'm sure you have been waiting for some time. What exactly the hell is up with Beta 4? So if you've been following the development of Redux for some time, you will know that originally Beta 4 was due to drop on Christmas Eve of 2020. And unfortunately, at that time, it didn't drop. Goofy ran into some situations with real life, and this is super annoying. Family health, and just real life was kind of taking its toll over there. He has been pretty public about it, but needless to say, I'm not about ready to go into his life and the reason for the delays, but there were some family health and well-being issues over there that were kind of taking precedent over the coding. Plus, as Goofy admits in this one, I can truly speak on, he is a bit of a perfectionist, and when perfectionists get going, sometimes the steamroll just doesn't stop. And taking, for example, what you see on the screen over there, if Goofy says, okay, I'm going to release Beta 4 when I can get the Christmas theme on the helicarrier, and then he fixes the Christmas lights on the helicarrier, and then he's like, well, the jets aren't changing when you upgrade. They changed. They had different sprites. I got to go work on that. And then, oh, wait a minute, the sound of the jets taking off seems to be a little bit delayed to the visuals. Let me fix that. And then it's, oh, wait a minute, didn't the background scroll a little bit to make it look like it's moving? I need to fix that. And then I need to do this, and I need to do that. And the perfectionist doesn't know their limits and doesn't know the cutoff. So things continue to kind of spiral out of control. And rather than saying, I want to do 7 things and 7 things only between Beta 3 and Beta 4, it's, I've hit those 7 things, but now I see another 3, so now I'm at 10. Well, now I see this one. I can fix that. That's pretty quick. Oh, now I've broken this, and now it... And all of a sudden, 22 things have gone on between 3 and 4. So that is why there has been such a delay. If I can speak more personally for a moment, I can tell you that I'm sure for a lot of people, 2020, or really the entire year, from March of 2020 to March of 2021, I think for a lot of people was just a bigger shit show than anybody could have ever imagined. And maybe things didn't ever happen directly to you, but if you were simply aware of the world, it was probably just a draining year, from the start of the itis to counter protests a month later to the really bad protests 2 months later to the summer where things were supposed to be fixed by the summer, but then they weren't, and there were spikes in there, and then you knew you were coming up on the holiday season, and what could you or could you not do for the holidays. For me personally, there was job hunting in there, and then I did the streaming, and then there was a job for about 2 months. It was a project. The project was over, and then I went back to the streaming. Those who visited the stream back when I started it in the summer of 2020, and maybe were fans of the stream back in 2015 and 2016, or 2014 and 15, really. No, excuse me, 2015, 2016. Yeah, until the game ended, 2015, 2016. You'll know that my cat Arthas featured prominently in a lot of those videos and streams and everything. Unfortunately, he passed away in early December, despite hopefully having a year to an 18-month doom clock over his head. Unfortunately, the doom clock was September to December. So Now we have 2 new cats in the place of Albedo, which is my girlfriend's, and Chewy, which is mine. So the ship is righting, but that was a tremendous emotional blow to lose what seemed like a perfectly healthy cat on this at not even 8 years old. He was just a few weeks before turning 8. So knowing what I've gone through and how it kind of really does compare, but mostly doesn't compare to what Goofy's going through, I can understand him taking the time for this and everything. I've had to stop the streaming in March because now I have a full-time job that I'm not working remote for. So I hate to let that go because the streaming is fun and we pushed the boundaries of beta 2 and beta 3 quite a bit. In those times, we broke the game. We had ideas for the game. We came up with a lot of things that should be fixed. We did deep dives into the code and found things in there. We found gear that we've never knew existed simply by the streaming. And that's just things that you don't encounter when you're doing a video and everything. So, yeah, real life happened. Real life happened to all of us in 2020 and 2021. And unfortunately, it did slow down the development of Beta 4. So, not to hold the suspense too much longer of what to expect in Beta 4, I want to let you guys know right now, we don't have an ETA yet on Beta 4. Goofy's still polishing it up, getting it into a candidate that he's ready to release. No, we do not know how many betas between 4 and the release candidate will happen. He may decide to do a release candidate after 5. It may be after 8. Um, None of that should put anybody off. This is what game development is like. If you are unaware of what game development is like, you should look at Steam's Greenlight group. You should look at Kickstarter. Simply put your nose to the internet grindstone and you will find out what it's like to do game development and how things get stuck in development hell. Not that this is, but I think a lot of people approach Redux from a perspective of not really knowing how game development works because for many decades people were just not aware of it. You just knew a game was coming and then Activision said, okay, Mega Mania is out on the Atari 2600 on Friday, and you went and got it. And then you encounter other games where you follow the beta and you follow the alpha and you are part of open betas and you see how the game changes along the way and you're part of it and you know the difference. Like for me, like Paladins, I did this. I was Gigantic by Motigo, which isn't around anymore. Even a little bit the game Evolve that was on Steam, the monster versus the four hunters game, the asymmetric game. Games where you follow along with the development and you play along with the development are becoming more and more common. I have played so many Marvel mobile games lately well before they're ever released, like Marvel Duel and Battle Lines and Marvel Strike Force and Avengers Alliance 2. I played all those games for almost full years before they got released, so I get to see and become familiar with exactly what game development is like, because I've watched the UI change, I've watched characters change, the farming of a character change, like Captain America and Black Widow in Marvel Strike Force. So before you think to stick your finger up and go, but excuse me, wait, or well, actually, you need to understand the perspective of when actual AAA game houses work on games. They go through the same stuff Goofy's going through, and especially now with the pandemic, We've seen things like Final Fantasy VII and Marvel's Avengers and Shadowlands for World of Warcraft. All of them hit snags, and all of them had to get, a little bit of special work done to it. So what you're seeing here with Beta 4 and everything like that, it's not particularly unusual. And in 2020, 2021 is really, really not unusual. So what's on the screen is Beta 3, which is the one that has the more working UI as compared to Beta 2, which is the more working combat. Now, you may want to ask the question, well, what should I get, Beta 2 or Beta 3? I would recommend until Beta 4 comes out that you get both. They just need to live in separate directories. Do not try to combine 2 and 3. They need to be in separate folders on whatever hard drive you want. Or multiple hard drives. It really doesn't matter. Just do not try to put them in the same directory. One is not a patch to the other. Also, by having them both on your machine, if you want to do combat, pick 2. If you want to do things like research and leveling characters and everything, you're going to want to do Beta 3. As you can see here, like I've done a bunch of research. Somewhere along here, I believe, is a research that's like waiting for me to accept. I just need to figure out which one it is. So that's the deal there. Again, I always have to say this in the videos just to make sure people understand this is not going to be mobile. We are not developing for iOS. We are not developing for Android. We are developing for Windows PCs. I shouldn't say we. I should say Goofy. I'm not part of the development of the actual coding. It is being developed for Windows PCs, not Macs, not Chromebook, not Linux. I will say that if you get a operating system that is capable of running Shockwave flash files, then likely you can get some headway with playing it not on Windows. If you're on a Mac, you may have some success with a Windows emulator. The same thing for Linux. Chromebook, I admittedly think you might be shit out of luck on a Chromebook. If there is on a Chrome store something that allows you to fully execute a SWF file, the Shockwave flash file, then maybe we'll have a chance of playing this the way you would have back in the day. No, there will never be a server that your Redux connects to. No, it will not be multiplayer in the way that you were used to back in the day. And no, it will not ever be back on Facebook. I really get so surprised when people ask those questions like, is this coming back to Facebook? Like, you need to be a verified publisher to do something like that. I don't even know why that's a question. I will say there is popularity being strummed up for the game, or drummed up for the game, because several months ago a media outlet talked about games we love that died, and this author knows about Redux and made mention, but there is a small and dedicated team working on bringing Redux back. They didn't really drop any contact information or anything like that. But there was at least one news outlet that was aware of us and dropped a name, similar to how I think it was PC Gamer just recently dropped a link to a Metroid Prime remake in 2D, and that was a fan game. So, news may get out there. Now, Beta 4, what are we going to expect? So, according to Goofy, here are the code items that he is working on for combat. There will be no items or distress calls, but many of the statuses, if not all, will be working. Text needs to be updated. Stage effects are to be determined. That's like when somebody uses like the Scroll of Aknazak and the background changes because of an ability or something like that. Flight deck. Remote ops are working, allies are working, research is finished. The store likely in the same state as beta 3, however you cannot sell anything within the store. For the team, there are no AISOs or no EISOs yet, but UI adjustments are still needed. For the missions, Season 1 will be there, Spec Ops 0 to 11 will be there. PvP and Covert Ops are not yet implemented. For people who ask about PvP, essentially every season you will download a patch to Redux that gives you the season's designed fights. You will, in Season 1, not be fighting Ronan and Molly Hayes, for an example, because the seasons are meant to imitate the actual real PvP Season 1 back in 2012. So, at least for the first, I don't know how much time, but I will just say a year. For the first year that Redux is out, you will be retreading old content. No, you will never, ever, ever have access to your old data. That old data was parsed through Facebook to the Playdom servers. It resides on a Playdom database somewhere. You would never, ever, ever want anybody to have access to that data and freely provide it, because you wouldn't want your credit card that you use for purchases to come into play over there. That was more on the Facebook side. But the Playdom side, there was back-end server code about your account and the cloud save of your account, basically. We do not have access to that. And besides, if Goofy contacted Playdom and said, I'm Goofy, give me my data back, how is Goofy going to prove that he's the Goofy in their database? And maybe he's Goofy Troll, but somebody created Goofy Troll 5. Don't ask about your data. You're starting at square zero, just the same way you would the very first day you started playing Redux. So keep that in mind. Roulettes are working and they add to the inventory. Not all rewards are working yet. Dialogue in and out of combat is working. Leveling will limit in combat usage, but there is no limit at this time. Up to from 15 to 300 will be limited in release based on progress, because now remember, we had a certain level cap in the beginning and then it was blown open and expanded later, similar to Marvel Strike Force, similar to DC Legends and everything like that. So yeah, from day one you're not going to be able to hit the old Spartan cap of 300. You will probably only be able to hit that very first cap, which I think was 200. Tasks, not yet. Lockboxes, most likely no. Mission maps should all be working except for group bosses. PvP simulator will still be locked. Many UI upgrades from Beta 2 and Beta 3. Goofy is still working on lining up agent weapon effects so that they properly line up to the agent weapons, like over here. The gunfire shot is a little below the actual barrel of the gun. He is working on that. Here, it's a little bit more in place, and you're seeing an effect on Hydra Bob. When I was doing the stream, the heroes and the villains would always seemingly act and kick and punch properly, whereas sometimes the agent just kind of lifted his hand to the sky and things happened. He didn't always flinch properly. He didn't always actually act out his weapon properly. Here we have a little bit of a shot of the vortex suit, and we're going to talk about that right now. So the vortex suit is going to be a suit coming in the future. We have already decided to design new PvP season rewards that you've never seen before when you actually get to the PvP seasons you've never played before. Thanks to member Christian Risotto, he is, yeah, I know I kind of said that like the rice. Risotto? Maybe it's Risotto. It looks like it's Risotto. I'm sorry for calling Christian rice. My absolute complete bad on that. Christian Rosado is doing vortex suits. So what these suits are is we had one in the game at the time, and he is going to be working on doing future PvP rewards with new vortex suits that we have not seen before. Originally, we had Infiltrator and Scrapper, and if you happen to remember them, sometimes the vortex effect came detached from the rest of the agent. So what I mean by that is, at least in the played-on version of the code, I don't know if Goofy will be following the same thing or fixing it or modifying it, but the vortex suit was a ghost of the actual agent, set up with your body style, male, female, whatever you did for your body. That's what the vortex suit was. It was a superimposed ghost of it that was supposed to do the hokey pokey along with your actual agent. So if the agent lifted a submachine gun to the ready and fired several shots, the vortex suit was supposed to match, obviously, as you can see, mostly in the chest area. Sometimes when the game wasn't working well, or your machine was slower or older or a little chunky and stuttery that day, or you had too many tabs open and Chrome was being a hog, the vortex suit would come detached and be 1 or 2 seconds behind, sort of like Bluetooth audio delay, where you would lift the gun and you would start shooting, and your agent would like lean to the right or lean forward in the action and then lean back, and then the vortex suit would follow a second later, and you could see essentially a superimposed image of the actual vortex suit coming detached from the agent. So if we were to like draw a pencil over here, you would see the vortex suit outline would kind of be like this, and it would come detached, and the flare would be over here, and you would see gaps in the flare where the layering effect of graphics were set to have a layer only in the chest region, but not like the head and the arms and the legs. And you would see like a blank spot up here, and then a blank spot down in this area, and this weird ghost, ethereal ghost Casper kind of a thing would be going on in like this region, and it would come completely out of sync. I think I drew a 3-part Frosty the Snowman with a huge dong. I'm sorry, YouTube censors. I did not mean to do that. So here's some more examples of it. There's a generalist one. That's what the tactician looks like. Here, Goofy's got a video of it. You can see the vortex suit is really flaring properly with the actual agent, and it's not coming detached. It looks actually rather phenomenal to see this, because I think it even seems to be doing better than Playdom code. Like, the way that I see it here, I can't actually predict that we would ever have that issue that Playdom had, that the flare would come detached. This actually looks like somebody has stuck a butterfly pin right through the center of the flare and really attached it to the chest of the agent, and that these two, you know, my shadow will never leave me. Like, I can't actually imagine on somebody's like slower, older rig or laptop, or you know, you have a bunch of things open, you've got a major game open, and you're playing this on the side. This doesn't look like the vortex suit is ever gonna lag out of the actual agent, and that's phenomenal. I think that is a major progress over there. If Goofy has found code to attach it better and do something beyond Playdom, I think that's great. In these videos and everything, I never talk bad about Playdom's code for the most part, because there are Playdom people who are involved in watching the project, and they always definitely did the best that they absolutely could. I mean, there certainly were mistakes, and believe me, there was code that I considered a bug for a very, very long time that never ever got fixed, and I still don't understand why. But hey, if Goofy has the capabilities of fixing things that not even a software house was able to fix, then stand up and give Goofy an ovation over there, because, somewhat like Thomas Happ with Axiom Verge, he's one guy doing all of this. No, he's not writing the stories and creating new, sprites and animation and everything. But the meat of the code work is just him, because it has to be just him. Trusting outsiders with this is not a good idea, and has actually bit us just once. And that is a lesson learned, and we cannot afford to have code and code work it out in the wild again, or have somebody else claim it like somebody attempted to do. So that's what we've got coming for Beta 4. Again, not mobile. Don't know the release date. You've seen a list of the things that will be working, will not be working, haven't been updated. The vortex suits are not part of the beta. This is just some future content that Christian Rosado is working on, and they have now been officially tapped to be PvP rewards coming in the future. So that really just picks up where the game left off. If the game left off with just that infiltrator flight suit, what would be a logical thing is, once we started working on it, let's try and fix it and get a tactician one and a blaster one and a generalist one and everything. So we are picking up the ball that was dropped when the game died September 30th of 2016. So hang in there, guys. Beta 4 will be coming. Should be a lot of progress, and at that point you probably will not need to keep any other beta around, especially if combat is fully working and we have all the UI improvements of Beta 3. I likely will, just because there's so much code diving we did to 2 and 3 to discover bugs and everything like that. I will probably put Beta 4 in its own directory and just leave Beta 2 and 3 hanging out, maybe even to do videos just showing how far everything's come since Beta 2. So hang in there, guys, just a little bit longer. Feel free to leave any comments down below. Don't forget to look in the description to download Beta 2, download Beta 3, get onto the Redux Discord, or get onto the Redux Facebook. Thanks a lot, everybody, and thanks for checking out the video. Have a good one.